Hi, and welcome to BA642. This is sort of the first little piece of information for the first week of class, and I'm going to review the syllabus so that everybody understands what we're aiming to accomplish in the class and some of the ground rules. In addition, I am prefacing or announcing that you have both your bio assignment, which you got with the welcome module, and you'll also have a short one-page paper, read an article, one-page paper, and discuss that article with your classmates. No chapter readings or anything this week. We'll start with the textbook next week, so this is sort of an introduction. Get yourself acclimated. In general, your assignments for the week will be posted on Sunday, and they will be due the following Sunday. So you have 8 days to do them, but they'll be posted every 7 days. So for those of you who have had me before in a marketing class, this class is quite different. This is not marketing. This is accounting and finance. So it's taught quite differently. Lots more testing and objective reactions, and not as many papers, projects, cases. So there are some of those. So a little different process. We will be covering a lot of material, like accounting, financial accounting, managerial accounting, and finance generally cover 3 semesters in an undergraduate program for non-accountants, for managers. And in graduate programs, lots of different ways. Some graduate business programs don't even cover accounting and finance. We think it's pretty important that you understand this so that you can interact and control your own destiny within any organization you may end up working for. So we're going to cover essentially 3 semesters of material in 1 semester, which is going to require hard work on your part and my part. But also we're going to cover it from the perspective of a manager. So I don't expect any of you will end up as accountants, as CFOs, or in the accounting department of whatever organization you end up working for. But you do have to understand accounting and finance in order to operate in the business world. So I'm going to skip over the catalog description. I didn't have any hand in writing it, and I think it's way too wordy and detail oriented. So we're going to skip right down to course outcomes. And these are the things that I really look at and hope that you will achieve before or by the time we complete this course in early December. So first of all, understand the role of accounting and how financial statements are used. And understand how accounting affects business operations and behavior at all levels. So for those of you who had me in marketing, you know that I say if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So accounting is about the measuring part. How do I measure achievement? And this applies both to profit and non-profit organizations. All organizations have to operate with positive cash flow. If they don't, then they will cease to exist. So it doesn't matter whether you're a for-profit organization or a non-profit organization. You have to understand accounting, and how does it affect business operations? Well, obviously the way we account for things has to do with how we end up managing them. And the way that accounting rules in a particular organization are set up affects the behavior of everybody within that organization. So we're going to learn about accrual basis accounting. So this is the first piece of jargon for those of you who haven't had accounting before. What is accrual basis accounting? We'll talk about that. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I will talk about it as we go into the course. Some more jargon: assets, liabilities, equity, revenue, expenses, and cash flows. So those are all accounting concepts. and accounting terms, and what they mean in accounting may not be the same thing they mean in general language. So these are um, field specific or discipline specific terms, and like all professions, accounting has its own jargon. So when these words are used, an accountant knows exactly what they mean. And you should know too, because they're going to be used around you in meetings and in corporate correspondence. And if you don't really understand them and know them, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So that's the second piece, second goal. Third goal, develop skills necessary to read, understand, and analyze published financial statements. So published financial statements are what are called what financial accounting generates. They have to comply or conform to a certain set of rules, which in the US are called Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. GAAP is the acronym. And being able to read them, understand them, and analyze them is a key skill I want you to acquire, and we'll be spending a fair amount of time on that. Number four, we start to talk about managerial accounting. So the first three cover general accounting as well as financial accounting. Fourth one, we start talking about managerial accounting. Very different from financial accounting. Uses a whole different set of pieces of your brain, parts of your brain, and pieces of managerial accounting that we'll talk about. Cost accounting. How much does it cost to produce the widget that we're producing? Not as easy as you think to figure out, and it's not as hard a number as you might think. It's kind of a squishy number. What it costs. How do we apply overhead costs to various things? We'll learn about that. Operational budgeting. So how do I budget for operations? So this is something that all of you in your current professions or in your future jobs will deal with, because you all will have to deal with an operational budget. Capital budgeting is about budgeting for long-term assets. May not be something that you deal with directly, but as you move up in an organization, this becomes a bigger and bigger part of everyone's job, looking at the future and making long-term investments. Break-even analysis, which you did a little bit of in marketing, if you've had me in marketing. Key way to analyze any operation. Variance analysis, what's the difference between what we expected and what did happen. Internal control, how do we control our assets so that they don't either get misused, misappropriated, or errors are made in recording them. So how do we establish internal control? So those are all managerial accounting concepts, and we'll spend a fair amount of time on them. And then finally, the finance part of this course, understand and apply the concepts of corporate finance, time value of money, risk, leverage, liquidity, working capital, and sustainability. Those are key items for strategic thinking about businesses. So how does this happen? Why did we decide to make an investment in a new ship or a new warehouse or a new set of train tracks or whatever it is that we're doing? Why did we make that decision, and how did we decide that it was a good decision? So that's how finance gets involved. Where does they provide the resources for the operations and long-term acquisitions of any organization? How do they decide where to allocate resources? And we'll talk a bit about that. So those 5 items are the things that I hope you will come out of this course with. And I think if you successfully complete the course, you will have a good grounding in those 5 items. A lot to cover in 3 months, and we'll have to work fairly hard at it, but I think you'll all be successful doing that. So that's the course outcomes. Continuing, see if I can make this go down. How do I do that? There we go. Continuing, there's my contact info, my email account, my office hours, which for you guys is whenever you want to email me. I try to get people, back to people quite quickly. So you can either email me directly, which you've got my email address here, or you can email me through Canvas. Either way, it comes to the same address, so it doesn't matter to me. Whatever's easier for you. And that's my office phone number. I probably should provide you with my cell number as well, because I'm not always in my office. So my cell number, though it's not written there, is 207 469 8777. You will need the textbook for this course, and the required text is a text not really written for students. It's written for non-financial managers, which is what you guys most likely will be. So you're not going to be the CFO, you're not going to be the controller of a company, you're not going to be in the accounting office, most likely. I won't say that never has happened with students, but generally speaking, that's not what you're studying, that's not what you're planning to do. So this book is really written for a manager who gets promoted into an area where they need to understand finance and accounting, but don't have any background in it. So that's kind of the way I view what we're trying to accomplish here. So it's a pretty good book. It's available from the bookstore. Make sure you get the 4th edition. It has been in publication for a while, so you can probably find it elsewhere other than the bookstore, but make sure you get it. You will need it, and it's, I think, one of those books that you might want to keep on your shelf in your office, because it's a pretty good basic reference book as well, and I don't think it should cost you too much money. You obviously need to have Excel, PowerPoint, and Word on an internet-connected computer. I'm assuming you need that for all of your classes, so that's not anything new. So make sure you have that. There will be journal articles. In fact, there's one assigned for this week. So you've got a very short article from the New Yorker, so a current magazine, which I think is appropriate to start the course out. And you may have some case studies as well. From an exam standpoint, there will be 2 exams, one halfway through the semester and one at the end. They are not cumulative, so the first one covers the first half of the course and the second half of the course. However, this is accounting and there's a lot of building blocks here. So the second exam, though it won't specifically cover material from the first half, will certainly draw on what you've learned in the first half. So you'll have to keep that in mind. There will be group discussions. You'll have 2 in this first week, one on your bio and one on the short article. And I consider the discussions quite important. You may learn more from your fellow students than you learn from me, so that's really important. From a grading standpoint, the tests or the quests are worth 500 points, or half of your grade. Case studies, readings, and problems are worth 45% of your grade, and there's a 5-point participation grade. So on the scale of 1,000, you've got the points there. Letter grades are as below. A B- or better is considered successful completion of the course. You have to, in the grad program, I'm sure you've heard this in your other classes, but I'll pick it up here again. You have to maintain a B average, a 3.0 on the 4.0 scale. And if you get anything below a B in any of your courses, you may have to retake the course. 2 C's and you definitely have to retake the course. You get grace for 1 C+ or C, though it's at the discretion of the student, the graduate faculty student review committee. So make sure you put in the effort to keep your grades above, and hopefully you all get A's. That would be the best thing for me. Makes it way easier if everybody knows everything. So the outline, it starts on this page and jumps over to the next page. So chapter 1, we're going to start next week. So actually in week 2, that should say. And that's an introduction to financial management. And then chapter 2 is for you to do yourself. It's basically review of Excel basics, and Excel is key to this course. You're going to use it a fair amount, so understanding the basics is important. If you're already up to speed on Excel, you may not need to do that, but just flip through the book and look at the kind of things they're talking about for basics. Important if you're not up to speed on Excel or don't use it very much in your day-to-day, definitely get into chapter 2 and do it in depth. Oops, skipped a page there. So then we go on to chapter 3 and chapter 4. So we're staying in order in the book at this point, but then we jump all around. So the book is organized in a way that I don't think leads to the way I've set up the course. So we're using chapters from the book throughout, but we jump around. So we don't go 1 through 25 chapters. We jump from chapter 4, and then we jump to chapter 20, 21, and so forth. You'll notice that week 13 I've set in is flex time. That's because we'll certainly get out of schedule or out of sequence at some point in time. And obviously, I really should have adjusted, because week 1 we're not going to do any specific material from the book. We're going to start that in week 2. Academic honesty, you should all be familiar with that. I hope I don't have to be concerned about that. Obviously, we are working online, so your tests will be closed book, and the way that I manage that in order to keep it fair for everybody is I set a time limit, and I write the test to take about that time limit. So there shouldn't be a lot of ability to jump around looking things up, even if you chose to do that, though you're not supposed to. So that's how I control that, and I have a pretty good sense of, by the time you take Quest 1, I'll have a pretty good sense of your work. Clearly, and any papers I have you write or any cases you do, make it your own work, and if you reference anything else, certainly cite it. I don't want to get into a situation where I have an honesty problem with any students. I may choose to use Turnitin, may not in this course, but I do use it sometimes, and if I do, I will tell you I'm going to use it. There is technical support available through the IT help desk, so if you have any needs there, contact them. Accommodations, let me know if you need an accommodation for a learning difference. And Title IX and so forth, these are all standard in all of your syllabi, so there's nothing here that's new. The one thing that I always put in here on the bottom, everything in this is subject to change. So if I choose to change it, if we get behind or get ahead, we may add things or subtract things, and that's totally up to me. So understand that everything here is subject to change. So welcome to the course. Please do read the article in this module, and in the week 1 module, and participate in the discussion both on your bios and on the article, and submit a 1-page paper to me. And make sure it's just 1 page. Really, I'm just looking for your opinions and thoughts about the article. I don't want this to be researched or a big deal. So good luck, and enjoy your first week of class. Thanks, bye.